every time. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get started. And so for those of you who are just joining us, or if you haven't had a chance to share yet, I would love for you to share in the chat a little bit about kind of where you are in your program creation journey and your launch journey. Because I know sometimes people come to these things and they're like, I've got the program, I've launched once or twice, I just want to do it differently. Sometimes I get people who are like, I haven't created my program yet, but I'm really stressed about launching. So I just want to like get the information now. So I just love to kind of hear, where you are, what you're working on. And, these course cafes, they're super casual. So if you ever need to interrupt me because you want me to clarify something, feel free. You can use like the raised hand feature, or you can just kind of like wave at me on the screen. I can't quite see all of you. So if I miss you, I promise I'm not ignoring you. I just can't, Zoom kind of limits how many people I can see at a time. And so pretty much you're welcome to ask any and all the questions. Today, we're going to be talking about launching. So I have fun things. Oh, Andrea there. We're going to be talking, sorry, I have a cat who likes to jump on and off of my lap. And every time he does it, he grabs a hold of my headphones. So I think he's moving on. So I think we're okay. So yes, we're going to be talking about launching. I have some fun things to share with you, just kind of around launching and de-stressing all the energy that comes with launching and all the stress and all the, oh my goodness, this whole process makes me want to vomit kind of feels that can come with launching. But there's also going to be some time at the end for just kind of any and all questions that come up. I've seen a lot. I've seen behind so many different programs. I've launched my own programs. I've helped my clients launch programs. So really, like any questions you have around courses, group programs, workshops, learning experiences, those types of things, pretty much nothing's off the table. And we have about an hour today, but I'll make sure to stop along the way. So we're just going to kind of dive in here. So Erica says, working on a new program, halfway through it, totally confused and wishy-washy about launch strategy. Yeah, I know that feeling for sure. And then Macy says, we have a self-paced program that we haven't produced yet. We want to launch it in the fall. I have a live retreat to launch that's next month and a higher ticket hybrid program to launch for the next few months. Okay, so few different things that we're launching, few different things that we're working on. That's awesome. And then Amy says, I've released a toolkit / ebook for HSPs, like highly sensitive parents, and I'm halfway through creating a course to be released July 15th. No pre-purchases for the course yet, but wondering how to launch for maximum visibility and maximum engagement. Oh my goodness, so many fun things happening here. Okay, so what I want to start with first today is talking about like what the heck a launch actually is. Because sometimes I find we can put a lot of pressure on it. We have a lot of those kind of like bro marketer gurus that are like talking about like the perfect launch formula and here's what a launch is. And as a result, we can get really kind of tied up with a launch having to look a certain way. Like we have to launch with a webinar, we have to launch with a challenge, especially because I find a lot of the launch experts have one specific way they like to launch. And then they're like, that's the only way to do it. That's the only way to be successful. And so kind of pulling a launch back to its roots, back to what it actually is. A launch is a celebration and an invitation. A launch is a celebration of a program that you have created. It is a celebration of this amazing experience that you have put together for your people. And it is an invitation for those people to join you with this program. What a launch is not a manipulation. It is not like this like force of like, I've got to grab as many people as I can and like cram this program down their throats and I've got to like force them in there, or I've got to use like, if I use the exact perfect email sequence, if I use the exact perfect, sales page or this, that, or the other, then I can guarantee that people are going to come into this program. Then I can guarantee I'm going to get X amount. We see this a lot with kind of like conversion statistics, like, oh, if I can get X amount of people on my list and I can get X amount of people on my webinar, then I can get X amount of people into my programs. And for me, at least my approach is that, my people aren't numbers. My people aren't, a percentage. My people are people, and I am a human as well. And my launch really is, I like to treat every launch as like a love letter to my people of, I have created this program that I am so wildly obsessed with, and I am so confident is going to get you to that transformation that I want you to come join me. And my purpose within my launch is to make sure that you have all the information that you need to be able to make an informed decision about, is this program the right program for you? And I find once we start kind of shifting our energy around what a launch needs to be, once we start shifting it from like, oh my goodness, a launch is going to be this like push, like I'm just going to be like pushing and cranking it out. I got to force it out. Like we often hear this like, oh my goodness, I've got a launch coming up. You know, like I used to have, I had a friend who said like around launches, she would just like kind of warn her husband and she's like, I'm launching next week. I'm going to be totally unavailable. I'm going to be totally burnt out. Send food, send chocolate. That's all I can handle. And I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I don't want to do that. I mean, it's no wonder that we try to kind of avoid launching if we think that it's going to be this like this forcing, pushing, hustling, burnout creation thing. So by the time it's over, you're just like, you know, like that's not really like the vibe we're going for. So if instead we start thinking about launching, like I said, as being a celebration, being an invitation, kind of being this experience that we are welcoming our people into, and also taking a bit of the time pressure off of it. Now, this is kind of like a funny thing because I know when it comes to launching, when it comes to sales, everyone likes to talk about urgency. How do we get our people into the program now? When we're talking about launching, how do we create a launch window where there's an incentive or there's a bonus or there's a this, there's a that? Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those tactics, or you can totally use them. I use them. I'm actually going to be sharing a bonus that's time limited with you for the incubator today. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we also need to hold the autonomy of our people and hold that like we are not in control of the timing of our people's lives. And so there are going to be people who are ready to come into our programs. There's going to be people who are ready to buy. And there are going to be people who aren't. And there's going to be some people who are going to be ready like 6 months from now, a year from now. There's going to be people who are never ready and they're just going to kind of like lurk in our circles and like maybe they'll always be engaging with our free content. And our job is not to grab those people by the ear and like drag them over here through like, if you don't sign up now, you're never going to sign up. Like that's not really our vibe. At least that's not my vibe. And I mean, the way I like to think about it is I have a friend, Allison Carpio. She's a brilliant copywriter. And she always describes it as inviting your people to dinner. If you were inviting your friends over for dinner and you're like, we're having burgers, we have barbecue, it's gonna be so much fun. And your friends are like, oh, wow, that sounds great. I can't this weekend. You wouldn't be like, then starve, never come over. I'm never inviting you back for dinner ever again. Like, I mean, maybe you do. I don't know what your relationship with your friends is like, but like, I don't think that's like really what we would be doing, right? We'd be like, oh yeah, no worries. Let's try again. Like, sounds like the summer's really full for you, but like, let's get together for Thanksgiving or something, right? So the way that we can kind of keep that energy with our launch and trust that like we're speaking to the people who are ready now and the people who aren't ready, that's okay. We're not going to do anything to alienate them. We're not going to make them feel bad. We're not going to make them feel ashamed. It's just they'll come back around. So I think really kind of holding that trust in like the timing for your people and trusting that they're kind of autonomous adults who can make their own decision is a really good grounding starting place. So before I get into kind of the types of launching and the ways that we can express this kind of energy, I'd love just to hear, has any questions come up for anyone? Is there anything people want to ask? Feel free, you can either come off mute or you can pop in the chat. I see we've got a couple things in the chat. I'm going to check it out. But if anyone has any questions, feel free just to unmute. Okay, so Dustin says, I love the celebration and invite focus. I really don't like the shame and pain marketing, but so much of the advice for launch and sales copy is problem and pain focused. What do you have for effectively shifting the message to a more positive one without the pain and shame messaging?
Like, I loved your invite to dinner. Like, that makes sense. And I don't like when I invite someone over, it's like, hey, we're making this. We got plenty. Like, you want to come over and have a great time? And there's like, but there's no like, hey, I know you probably haven't eaten today. And I know like a burger is just exactly what you need. And I've got this secret seasoning that, oh, let me tell you, like, if you miss out on this seasoning, Emily, like, you've never had a burger before. Like, you know, there's like, it's very, very different. But like, no one's out there being like, hey, I got this cool thing, you want to come do it? And like, that doesn't, I don't know. I want that to be effective, but is it?
Such a great question. And I think you used a really great word, which is shame. I think there's nothing wrong with being empathetic when it comes to talking to people's pain points. I think where it starts to get into shame territory is, it's actually like a term used in copywriting, which is twist the knife, which is like, I see you're in pain and I'm going to make that pain a little bit worse. I'm going to make you feel a little bit bad about it. I'm going to shame. So it'd be like, keeping with our dinner metaphor, it'd be like, I know your kitchen's like really messy because like you've been so busy being a parent, like you can't even cook. Like, ugh, like it kind of has this like shamey energy opposed to just like, hey, I know life has been really busy, so dinner's probably been the last thing on your mind right now. So come join me for burgers. I've already made them. They're going to be delicious. Where it's this empathy of like, I can kind of see what's going on for you, like using the example of kind of like my own program. I know a lot of people who are ready for the incubator. They're either in like kind of two places. They've been trying to create a course and they've got this like mountain of post-it note ideas that have never actually like manifested into a course structure, or they've kind of started on their course and they're like, there's something about that's not feeling right. I'm not going to completely ignore that and just only talk about like the best thing ever in the sense of like, how amazing it can feel and how much easier launching is when you're in love with your program. Like, yes, I'm going to talk about that, but I also need to acknowledge where they are, because sometimes there is a really big gap between where our people are in the pit. If they're deep down, dark in a pit of despair, then it's going to be really annoying if someone's like kind of being toxically positive about like all the possibilities and all the amazing things for them, versus if they're kind of maybe just clawing out of the pit, then very much we can think about like where to meet them. So a lot of it comes down to awareness of where your people are in their journey. And then also thinking about like, if you were talking to a friend, okay, Tustin's 4-year-old can't get the host turned off. That's amazing. So very much it's like thinking, if you're talking to a friend, if you wanted to talk to your people like human to human, very much like, what do they need to hear? Now, this is one of the things I'm going to share near the end, so we'll just kind of dive into it now. Is often we can get so caught up in copywriting tactics and sales tactics and launch tactics that we forget that like we are just talking to people. And so that's where like, if you had a friend that you were chatting to and they were dealing with an issue, you wouldn't get really shamey about it. You wouldn't like be agitating their pain, but you might like listen and empathize and be like, yeah, that sounds really hard. Or like, I can see that would be really difficult for you. And, I just did this thing, or I just had this thing, like, I think this would help you. And I think the more that we can kind of take that approach of like humaning and just talking to our people as if they're people, it can kind of like take some of the pressure off. Like one of the examples I like to use is I live in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Canada, and it rains like all the time. And it always kind of like bummed me out that anytime it was raining, I had to wear like giant clunky gum boots. It kind of like ruined the cuteness of an outfit. And this company came out with super cute, completely waterproof shoes. So you can like step in puddles in them and everything. They're totally waterproof. And I'm like obsessed with them. And so then literally anytime I had a friend who was like, oh, I just like was tired of wearing gum boots. I wish I could like look cute, but not have wet feet. And I was like, oh, let me tell you about these shoes. And it became this thing where it's like, I didn't have to be like, oh, you have wet feet. You're going to like let your feet be soggy all day. Like, no, you're just like, okay, I get it. Wet feet suck. I'm going to speak to like, yeah, that's your pain point. Having wet feet sucks. I don't like that. Neither do you. And I have a great solution. It's these amazing shoes. I'm obsessed with them. I literally have 2 pairs, and I've convinced so many people in my life to get them. So the more we can kind of keep that energy, the better. How does that feel for you, Dustin? Good. Good. Yeah, I know you're dadding right now. Okay. Okay. Any other questions before we kind of move into types of launching? Feeling good. Awesome. All right. Oh, Troy, they're Vessies. They come in a whole bunch of different styles, and like they're actually like amazing.
Like Bessie with a B?
Yeah, I just put it in the chat, VESSI.
Oh, nice.
And they're
Okay, I'll
Canadian, they're
look
from
that up.
Vancouver. Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. See, when there's a solution for people's problem, it doesn't matter what you're saying. It's like, okay, this is great. I need these shoes. Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about the types of launching, because this is something that I'm a firm believer in, is that there is not a one size fits all approach to launching. And now I know there's going to be people out there who are like, the only way is to launch with a webinar. The only way is to launch with a challenge. But the reality is there's not one right way, because the best launch approach is the one that not only leads seamlessly into your offer, but also, oh, cat, hold on. Oh, grab my headphones. Okay. Every time. It's not only the one that leads seamlessly into your offer, but it's also the one that honors how you like to show up. So if the idea of, for instance, leading a challenge where you're like it's like a big energetic push and you're doing lots of live videos and that type of thing, it sounds completely and horrifically draining for you, then we're not going to plan a launch around that approach. Similarly, if you get totally lit up by connecting with your people through video or through kind of live calls like this, then that's what we're going to lean into. Because the best launch is the one where you're showing up from a place of feeling like, oh my goodness, this just feels so good. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to invite people to this. Because the fact is like, with a launch, we're having to essentially sell two things typically. If we're doing the first style of launching, which is the main style, and this is what I call a launch event launch. So this is where you have some sort of event. It's typically free. Sometimes people do paid to kind of kick off the sales period of your program. So this is like, you can have a webinar, you can have a challenge, you can have a workshop, some people, this is where they like kick off like a lead magnet or a freebie, something like that. There's some sort of, I don't know, someone called it like a detonation point. I didn't super like that language, but just like something that kind of like kicks off the start of your launch. And so with this, we're essentially having to sell two things. We're having to sell and promote the launch event, and then we're having to sell and promote our program. Now, if you're the type of person that maybe has never had to like sell and promote that much before, which like I would say 90% of us before we became entrepreneurs, that was us. It's not really something you have to do in your daily life. That can feel like a lot of promotion. That can feel like a lot of having to put yourself out there, a lot of invitational energy. And so with this, if you're choosing a launch event that feels so scary, it's frying your nervous system, or just feels so kind of like overwhelming, or it's not something that you're super excited about, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to promote it. And so that's why it's so important to find that style of launch event that feels really, really good for you, so that you can want to show up, so you can want to talk about it, so you're excited to talk about it. So it takes some of that resistance away. It's not like, okay, I'm going to have to do this webinar and I'm terrified and I'm freaking out and I'm so anxious. I can't sleep, I can't eat, but I have to invite people to it. Like, you're not going to want to invite people to that. You're not going to want people there. You're going to be secretly hoping that no one signs up so that you don't have to do it. It's completely counterintuitive. So we want to think about like what feels good for you and what feels good for your energy, what feels good for how you like to show up. And we can I want to share some other options with you. And then we can kind of go into individual examples. Like you can just tell me kind of what you're thinking, and we can chat through and see what feels good for you. So like I said, I'm checking my notes while I keep looking down. The launch event style launch is the kind of like your typical style of launch. It's what we see the most often. I'm a big fan of it when you choose a launch event that feels really good for you, because I don't see, like, a lot of people call them like conversion events, like you're going to get people on here and you're going to convert them into your program. I haven't come up with like a fancy, sexy name for them, but I see them less as like a conversion event and more of a like trust event where people can kind of come and connect into you and kind of like, suss your vibe to be like, are you the type of person I want to give my money to you? Like, are you the type of person who's going to deliver on your program promise? Are you like, what is this? And your launch event really gets to be kind of a micro experience of the program that you're selling. So if you're selling a live program that has like coaching calls or something like that, maybe it can be a live event. If you're selling a toolkit that's like super, super actionable, maybe it can be a workshop. Thinking about how can we mimic the experience that we're selling so people can experience it for themselves and kind of check you out before investing in you. So that's kind of the main style of launch that we see the most often. Now, there's a few other styles of launches as well. So one is the beta launch. And so a beta launch, I find I treat differently than like a real launch, a launch event launch, because a beta launch I find is really, really good for people who are like, I've never actually tested out my curriculum. Like, I don't actually know if this is going to work in the way I'm teaching it. As in particular, this is really good for people who either are moving from a one-to-one service model where they've never really had to like scale their knowledge before, and their one-to-one service relies a lot on individualized coaching. Beta launching can also be really good if you're just the type of person that you're like, I just really want to like get a lot of connection with my people before I put this into like the masses. I want to have like a smaller group. And so with beta launches, because it's like they're a lot more chill. Like with your beta round, you don't need to have something totally perfect. You don't need to have everything like beautifully made. And like you don't, sometimes with beta programs, you don't even need to have anything made. You can just be live teaching it. So as a result, a beta launch really gets to be kind of relaxed as well. And the secrets to a successful beta launch really is having a capped amount of people that you're looking for. So like, let's say like 10 people. I recommend kind of reaching out to people that you think would be a good fit first. And then also you can kind of say like when you're promoting it, you don't need to do a launch event for a beta launch. Like I don't think that's necessary. You can just share a lot about your program and say, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm thinking. 10 people get to kind of experience this first, you get it at a reduced price, all those things. So a beta launch can really be kind of like a good starting point if you're like, I just want to like have some people experience this and like get some feedback from my people before I build out the whole program. So that's kind of your second option when we're thinking about launching. The third option I call is like a behind the scenes launch. And this works really well for super high ticket programs because in general, if you have a program that's like $10, $15, $20,000, like people aren't in general signing up for that from like a free workshop or webinar. Now, there are some people out there who teach this and have run it very successfully. I know some people who are selling $25,000 programs off of pre-recorded workshops. So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I am saying that like for the first time that you're launching that style of program, a behind the scenes launch is very much where it's just direct outreach, perhaps to past clients or people who have been in your DMs, just saying like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I think you'd be a really good fit. Let me tell you a bit about it, blah, blah, blah. So the behind the scenes launch is behind the scenes. You're not really doing a lot publicly. You're not sharing about it on your Instagram. You're not sharing about it on your news list, that type of thing. In general, you can kind of just get like a small amount of people just by direct outreach. And then the fourth style of launch, I just call this the announcement launch. And this is basically the same thing as a launch event launch. You just don't have the launch event. This is where you're like, I've made this thing and I'm giving myself a promotional window of like a week or 2 weeks. And I'm just going to talk about it a lot. I'm going to show up and I'm just going to share like, yay, I made this course. That's so amazing. And here's all the things. And here's how it can help you. And the announcement launch works really, really well for smaller programs, like especially tiny offers or toolkits or things that are self-study, because you don't necessarily need that connection point with your people because there's not a live element. They don't need to kind of see like, okay, are you the right person for me? Are you the right person to help me out? What's your energy like? What's your coaching style like? It's just like, hey, I have this solution to a problem you've been dealing with. So an announcement style of launch works really, really well when your people are aware of their problem and they know what the solution is, and it's the solution that you're offering. So the example I like to use for this a lot is copywriting. Like in general, people know they're not good at writing copy. Like most of us are like, oh my goodness, sales page writing is so freaking hard. And so if you're like, oh, I just need someone to like walk me step by step through how to write a sales page, and then someone goes, I launched a tiny offer. I'm going to walk you step by step how to create a sales page. You're just going to be like, sweet, take my money. Most of the time, it's our people have a bit more of a gap between what they think the solution is, what they think the problem is, and what we know the solution is. And that's usually where the launch event style of launch really comes into play, because that launch event can help people kind of shift their perspective, shift their mindset, and get the information they need to make an informed decision about if they want to join your program or not. Okay, so just to kind of summarize, we talked about 4 launch approaches: the launch event style of launch, a behind the scenes launch, a beta launch, and an announcement launch. So I just want to check in and see what questions people have. If anything has come up, let me know. You can either pop it in the chat, or you're welcome to come off mute and ask a question. I just love to check in and see how this is resonating. Okay, so Erica is thinking about a hybrid style of launch. Do you want to share more about that, Erica?
Sure. So I have a relatively low ticket course about job seeking in a very specific industry. So it's pretty niche. And I have 2 types of audiences that come in: people who are already looking for a job, and then also folks who are just starting to look for a job, but they're like dreading writing their resume and like getting started. So my course is all about that getting started piece. They know they have a problem. They don't really know what the solution is. They know that there's lots of roadblocks. And so I've been thinking about a launch that is more like announcement style. Here it is. And then just giving more about the strategy and the ideas and the concepts, rather than the how-tos, because the course is pretty straightforward. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do that? And I'm really wrestling with, I want to give people really relevant information, even if they don't take the course, but the how-tos, I don't want to necessarily, it's hard because I don't want to be like, I don't want to give them the how-to. I just don't want to give them all of the how-to, because the other problem I'll have is people will have 1 or 2 how-tos if I start them at the very beginning, and then they're like, oh, I got it from here. I'm like, no, you don't have it from here. There's like a lot more to do still.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm juggling with, like more of the sharing the strategy, sharing the what's the why of a lot of these things in more of this announcement style.
I love that. And I think you totally touched on like such a great point. And I know Clara echoed that as well, is like what to include without giving everything away. And I know this can be such a struggle, because we're also heart-centered. We just like want to help our people and we want to give them everything they need, but also we don't want to completely cannibalize our programs and just be like, okay, I've now shared everything in my free content and in my launch event and that type of thing. So something that I find can be really, really helpful for this when you're trying to figure out kind of like what to include and what not to include. And I like what you said about like trying, like kind of categorizing like the how-tos and being like, okay, I'm not going to worry about that as much. Is if you think about your people as being on a journey, and like sometimes I literally like draw this out on a piece of paper, and we think about, okay, your program journey is, this is probably backwards, I'm realizing now. Maybe if I do it this way, your program journey is over here for your people. And we want to think about like your launch content needs to meet them right at the beginning of the journey, so they are ready to come into your program. So questions that I like to ask myself when I'm thinking about things that need to be shared is, how do my people need to be thinking to be ready for my program? How do they need to be feeling? And what do they need to be doing? And so in some cases for our programs, there's things they need to have in place. Maybe it's something like, for instance, like if you wanted to join my program, Course Creation Magic, you need to already have a course topic in mind. So I might talk about how to find a course topic in a launch. Sometimes I find the biggest thing is, how do they need to be thinking? Because often there are mindset blocks that come up, and I'm not saying everyone has to be a mindset coach, but there are some shifts that can happen. So sometimes that's the like, what they think the problem is versus what the problem is, what they think the solution is, what the solution is. It can be things like, exactly like you said, like, oh, I've got the first step, I can take it from here. So that's where you're like, okay, if they think they can take it from here, and you were like, absolutely not, like you were clearly firmly like, no, they can't. That's a great opportunity to have content around that, like why you can't just take it from here, like why this doesn't work. So that type of content can be really, really helpful, Because again, it comes back to our intention of, I want to make sure people have all the information they need to make an informed decision about coming into this program. And part of that information is, this is what it looks like to do it on your own. This is what it looks like. And we're not doing this from a shame place of like, if you do it on your own, you will fail. Like that's not the energy we're taking. My thing is always like, I know you can do things on your own, but wouldn't it be more fun and like easier and less stressful if I helped you? You know, that's kind of like my energy is like, I fully believe in everyone's capability. And I also know that like I can save you a lot of time and a lot of stress and a lot of overwhelm if you join one of my programs, because then you'll actually have a program that you're in love with and you're not like sobbing over a pint of ice cream. So I think very much thinking about that for your people. And I love what you were saying about like maybe not as much how-tos, but like maybe content that's like, here's why you don't actually need the how-to right now, or here's why a how-to piece of content isn't quite enough. So I love that approach. How does that feel for you, Erica?
Yeah, for sure. I hate that. I mean, I have so many examples of this. I don't really want to share them, but thinking about how to build content around, well, we talked together, 6 weeks ago, and you're still in the same place in your job search where we left off. Like I like that. I told you so content. I don't want that, but I want to figure out how to capture that without in a more positive way.
Yeah. Sometimes I find what really helps for that is like your own example, because I think like for instance, like one of my own examples is, I tried for years to like work out, and it just like, I got the at-home programs, I tried different things, I'd buy the equipment, and I just never really seemed to like be able to do it. I'd like go really hard for like a week and a half, and then I'd be like, oh, this is boring. And when I got a personal trainer, like I had someone there helping and supporting me. Now I've been going to the gym and working out consistently for 2 years. And I'm like the strongest I've ever been. And it feels super, super great. So that's like an example from my own life of a time when I actually had someone there to support me who was able to answer my questions and customize things to my needs and blah, blah, blah. So I'm wondering if like maybe you have an example or something like that where you're like, yeah, I thought I could do this on my own. And I was being really stubborn and I was like, I could figure this out. And then I realized I was just still stuck in the same spot. But once I bought this course, bought this book, hired this person, this type of thing, then things kind of started to click. Like I think like stories can be a really, really powerful way of like creating empathy without shame. Because it's that like, I've done this, you've done this, I know what's going on. I'm not going to make you feel bad about this or make you wrong about this, but I'm gonna let you know, like, I know what you're doing and let me help you. How does that feel?
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Okay. So Manisha says, I joined late, so not sure if you talked about this, but do you recommend certain types of launches based on the price point of the program or the course? Such a great question. And the answer is my favorite answer, which is it depends. I think you may have joined slightly after this, but like I said, I've seen people sell like $25,000 group programs off of one pre-recorded workshop. I've seen people sell, tiny offers off of like a live 4-day challenge. So I think it's a bit less about the price point of the course, and it's more about how do you like to show up for your people, and also how ready your people are for your solution. So if people are like earlier on in their journey, like let's use like kind of business courses as an example. People who are earlier on in their business journey are obviously a lot more investment wary. So the higher price point something is, the more, not convincing, but more safety there needs to be. So that's where those launch events can really help, because people can be like, okay, if I am giving you my hard-earned money, like I can trust you with this, this is good. Versus if we're launching to like more experienced business owners who are more comfortable with like a larger investment, they might need less of that like warm up nurturing process. They might just be like, hey, I've checked you out, I like what you do, my friend took your program, this feels good, so I can hop in. So I think when kind of choosing your launch style is a bit less about your course pricing and more about kind of your people's readiness and awareness and also what feels good for you. Because to me, it always comes back to like, putting yourself in a place where you feel like you can show up fully. Oh, Dustin, I see your little guy waving. That's so cute. So let me know how that feels. And also, Manisha, feel free to share, like, if you want to come off mute or you want to put in the chat, you can say like, this is my course and this is my pricing. This is what I'm thinking. And we can chat about it for sure. Okay. All right. And then Amy wants to know about the behind the scenes launch again, just kind of like a little recap. So behind the scenes launching is almost like launching without launching. It's more of like invitational, where you're reaching out to people that either maybe they've been like DMing you about your content, they've been responding to your newsletters, maybe they're past clients that you've worked with. It's more of a like, publicly people wouldn't know you're launching. So if like I went to your social media, if I was on your mailing list, it's not like that what we're used to seeing with like all the emails and all the posts and like doors are open. It's just something that's kind of like subtly going on behind the scenes. This in general, I only recommend for either high ticket programs where you only need a few people, or beta programs where you're like, I'm just looking for like 5 to 10 people to test this out. Because it is that kind of direct outreach of like, hey, I'm creating this thing. I think you'd be a really good fit for it. Do you want to learn more? Yes or no? So it's very like hidden. Let me know if that clarifies and if you have any other questions. All right, and then Dustin wants to know, what advice do you have for family life proofing your live launches and live aspects of your program? Great question from a person who has,
as my kids
so
are running around me.
Yeah, so good. So, I mean, I think the first thing is like knowing that like life happens and we can't really ever fully predict what's going to go on there. Like I had my cat collapse an entire desk onto me in a live call once. That wasn't fun. So it's like sometimes like life happens, like when we're talking specifically like on the calls. And I think that's where just, again, giving yourself permission to show up as human, just like with what you're doing right now, where you're like, okay, like my little guy has the hose and he's running around or whatever. Cause I think, again, it takes people off of pedestals and it just lets us like connect and just be like, for people in your audience who are parents, they're going to be like, oh my God, I like totally get this feeling. Now, when it comes to like scheduling live things and being like, okay, but I never know on the day what's going to be happening. I think that if you are really forward in your brand about like I know like family is like your number one thing. Like you are like such a rock star dad. You're always talking about your kids. So I think anyone who comes into your world is going to be aware of that. And they're not gonna care if you're like, hey, I have to push this back an hour, or we have to do this tomorrow, or something like that. And I think if you kind of create that open communication around like, this is how I'm doing things and why I'm doing things, then I think not only does it create that human connection, but it also gives your people permission to do the same thing. Like my coach, for instance, once she pushed back a live call because she was having a really great bath. And she was like, I'm really enjoying my time in the tub and I don't want to get out yet. So like, I'm going to do the live call for this group program in an hour. And we were all like, sweet. Because her whole thing is infusing like pleasure and self-care and like really like filling up your cup. And when I saw that, I was like, I didn't know you could do that. And then I was like, this is great. So I think the great thing about what we all do is we're all running our own businesses. So there are no rules, right? Like we can do it however we want. And like we don't have to replicate a corporate sphere where it's like, well, the meeting starts at 9 or everything needs to happen at 9 if not needed.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the things I've really struggled with is like, I feel like I can do that on like the small scale, but with like, I know we've kind of talked a little bit about it, but like with some of our family dynamics and like a medically complex little guy, like sometimes it's like, dang, people like, I need this week off. And it's like, damn it. As like an instructional designer and person with education background, that like sometimes pacing of a course is really important. And I've had that like things are going great, and then 1 second I'm chatting, and then like I have to dad, like hardcore dad for like a week, and then it's like you just can't quite recover the pacing. And like, I don't know, the perfectionist in me is like, okay, I need to have like perfect automation so that if this happens, like all this thing is going to go through. And that I think the more I think about it, the more I think it's like holding me back from like imperfectly just going with something, trying to like, okay, plan out the perfect like life proof launch plan and offer and program. And as you know, we're about to bring a third in. So I don't know, like what do you got for that in terms of trying to avoid that like perfectionism and perhaps having like big dynamic swings? Like I've tried to do exactly what you say. Like people know I'm all about kids and family and like doing things in the way that works for you and your family. So is that okay? Like,
yeah, I think, I mean, my biggest thing is like transparency. I think as long as your people know that coming in, where you're like, hey, there's going to be some fluidity, instead of it being like, our calls are this day at this time guaranteed. If you say like there's going to be some fluidity, I would also probably encourage you like within the program design itself to maybe not have weekly calls, so that like there's like a like, you know, a lower chance of something, you know, feeling like, oh, I need to take this week off and now it's pushed back and pushed back. It's more like, okay, you know what, that's fine because I have a down week in between, like an integration week or implementation week. And then I also think probably that is an invitation to include some more self-study programs as part of your offer ecosystem that can just be kind of chugging along, like some toolkits or something like that, so that not only does that add in some like revenue to your bottom line, but then that means you don't need to necessarily have as much volume in the programs that do have live calls. And then you can have that intimacy and you can have that smaller group that's like a bit more adaptable, like you were saying. So that I think that's kind of what I would do. And just and I think, you know, maybe reflecting and being like, okay, what feels like manageable in terms of like live calls or that type of thing, you know, like how can I kind of like tune into like the structuring of the program in that sense. Okay, so Macy's got some questions here. So the difference between a workshop and a webinar can both be either live or recorded. Okay, we've got a couple different questions in here. So I'm gonna go like step by step here for you, Macy. So for me, I find personally that the kind of online launching space has co-opted the word workshop and has started using that for a webinar, because a lot of people have had negative experiences with webinars. People have signed up for webinars and they've been like, wow, this person just talked about themselves for 25 minutes and then didn't teach me the thing that they said they'd teach me. And now they're just selling me their program. This is awful. And so people are like, ooh, people don't like webinars anymore. Let's do workshops. For me, if a workshop is where you should be working on something, you should be doing something, you should be taking action. It's not just like sharing content or sharing information. And so the way I distinguish them is, yes, you can totally have a recorded workshop or a live workshop, but the way I run my workshops is making sure that there are actions taken during the time. So in this case, if it's pre-recorded, if it's not live, then you might say like press pause and go do this thing, go fill out this workbook, go fill out this sheet. If it's live, you might have time to actually like talk with your people or give them a minute or two to fill it out on the call. Webinars to me are more kind of information heavy, like they're like just, I'm going to give you a lot of content. I personally don't like webinars. I just find that transformation doesn't come from information. Transformation comes from taking action. And so if there's not like an engagement where people can ask you questions or you can give them action steps or you can give them things to think about, I don't know. I have yet to take a sign up for webinar and not be disappointed. So I'm definitely in the workshop camp. Also, just I find webinars are very, very long. And in general, if something is pre-recorded and there's no interaction, I want you to stop it at like 15 minutes max, like 15, 20 minutes. And most webinars are like an hour long. So that's kind of how I distinguish between a workshop and a webinar. And then Macy has a great question here about blogs leading up to the launch. You know, should I tackle a different issue for several months? If there are four main components of the program, should I do a webinar workshop on each? Okay, so let's talk about this, because I want to share kind of 3 secrets to launching that like have worked really well for me, work really well for my clients. And this really does touch on the first secret, which is looking at your launch, your program, and what I call your pre-launch content runway. So this is the content that you share for 60 to 90 days ahead of your kind of open cart period. So this particularly applies to like a launch event style of launch where there's like an open date and a close date, or it's a promotional window. Seeing all those components as an intentional journey. So we have the transformation that we want to get our people to as part of our program. We have the mini transformation that we want to get them to as part of our launch event, regardless of what style of event that is. And then we also have the transformation of what we want to get across for the pre-launch content runway. So this is all the content that you are sharing through whatever you typically share content through. So blogs, newsletters, social media, that type of thing. And this kind of touches on those questions that Erica and I were chatting about earlier, which is asking yourself kind of, how do my people need to be feeling? How do my people need to be thinking? And what do they need to have in place? And there's kind of core milestones. So if we think about where your people are right now, the kind of first milestone is they're ready to sign up for that launch event. And then the next milestone is they're ready to sign up for your program. So at each point, we want to kind of ask ourselves, how do my people need to be thinking? How do they need to be feeling? And what do they need to have in place? And your goal is to think about, especially like in that pre-launch content, this is where we want to dive into, like, how are your people currently thinking and feeling? And what are they currently doing or not doing? And what can we do through our content to start shifting them to that place we need them to be at to be ready for your launch event? So this might be looking like a lot of the times it's shifting how they think. So they might be believing certain myths. They might be feeling blocked by things like perfectionism and imposter syndrome. They might be getting bogged down in kind of a like guru way of doing things. They might be stuck in old habits. So thinking about how can we use our content to kind of start shifting that awareness and start making sure that our people are not only aware of kind of what the core source of their problems are, but also aware of the style of solution that they would need. And then our launch event can then further help bridge that into our program. So in terms of blogs leading up to your launch or content, that's where I want you to really think and like ask yourself, like, what is holding your people back right now? And so a question or a prompt that can be really helpful is if you think about, like, what would your people look at your program and go, yeah, but I could do it myself, but I don't have time, but I think I actually need a different solution. Okay, thanks, Dr. Sandy. It was so great having you. So really thinking about, like, where are your people running into those buts of, like, but I can't do this, but this doesn't work, but this type of thing, So I think about one of the things I see a lot is people getting really scared about creating a course or running their course because they feel like value comes from the amount of content in the program. So like, but I'm going to have to record so many videos, but I'm going to have to like create so much content, but I have to add more into my program so that it's valuable. And so that's why a lot of my content is around, like, actually less is valuable, less is more when it comes to your program. Really what's going to get your people results is taking action. And again, more content doesn't mean more action. More action means more action. And so that's really where we want to focus. So thinking about for yourself, like, where are your people getting stuck? What patterns need to shift? What butts are coming up for them? And then also, Macy, because you're in the incubator, you do get Launch Magic, which has all these prompts for pre-content and blogs and things like that. So there's some of that in the course for you as well. Okay, let's see here. I'm just going to jump to, we've got a few other questions here, and then I'll come back to your other questions as well, Macy. And I also want to let everyone know I don't have a hard stop at 11, so we can keep going a bit longer. So I'm not just going to boot you out in 5 minutes. Okay, so Manisha says, do you find that people launch a few times over the year, even if their program is evergreen? I'm in program creation mode, but it's intended to be a 12-week course with an option for paid calls if Nathan needs support. Such a great question. And absolutely, yes. I think that even evergreen programs need promotional pushes. The dream is, of course, with evergreen programs, eventually we have that like super sexy, amazing funnel that's running and filling up our program on autopilot. The reality is that takes years of optimizing and tweaking to get that happening. And so you do need to have a push every so often. And so I think that, if it's a 12-week program, and you say your program's evergreen, so I'm going to make an assumption here that it's like people come in for 12 weeks at a time, or it's intended to be completed in 12 weeks. But I think very much you can have those cycles where you are promoting it. So for instance, like my group coaching program, the Incubator, is evergreen now, which means it's a 4-month program. You can join whenever you want. You come in for 4 months and we guide you through building and launching, designing your phenomenal program, or if you already have a program, making it even better. It is evergreen. And I also do kind of promotional pushes, which is like one that we're in right now. So that's where I offer maybe like a special bonus. So in this case, it's a launch planning retreat. So a live full day workshop where we're going to plan out your entire launch. So I find if you are doing an evergreen program and you are doing kind of like a launch period, having some sort of incentive so that people are like, well, are you just like talking about this a lot for like a week? Or is there something kind of special happening? Sometimes we see this with like discounts. I personally prefer to do bonuses instead of discounts. So I like to say, like I said, like this live retreat, opposed to like save X amount of money. So definitely possible. Okay. And then Andrea asks, how do you know there's enough value without adding more content? Great question. Oh my goodness, such a great question. So this is where, when we're designing a program, often what happens is that we sit down and we go, okay, what's everything I know on this topic? We either like write it on a Post-it note or we start brain dumping. But what we actually want to do is we want to start with, what is the goal of this program? Like, what is the outcome I want to get my people to? So getting really, really crystal clear on it. So I'll use the Incubator as an example. The goal of the Incubator is to have you have a program that is designed, that is built, and that is launched. And so that is the outcome I want to get people to. In order to get people there, I ask myself, what do people need to do to be able to have this program that they're like wildly in love with, and it's out there in the world, and they're launching in a way that feels good for their energy? I don't start with what do people need to know. You want to ask yourself, what do they need to do? And this is where I actually recommend that you get really granular. Like you can like bullet this out, is write down every single action. They need to define the transformation of their course. They need to, I'm doing this out of order, but like they need to write their lesson content notes. They need to determine their launch approach, like literally writing down the actions they need to take. Because when we do this, we're building an action plan. We are building a map that we know if our people take this action, they're going to move towards the transformation. Once we feel confident that we have fully mapped out the actions they need to take, this is really, really helpful because it gives you a sense of how much work your people actually have to do. Because sometimes we have these, like, we forget to write down the action steps and we forget all the little like pieces that are hidden in there. So not only are you going to get a sense of like, wow, my people have to do a lot, but then you can ask yourself, what do I need to teach them so that they can take action? What do they need to know so they can take this action? What tools or resources can I give them so they can take this action easier and take this action faster? So this is where we can give them templates or swipe files or frameworks to fill out. One of the things I do to help people structure their lessons, like I have lesson power packs that are like, here are different ways of structuring lessons that are like small and effective. So thinking about really, instead of going, I just need to keep adding more, you want to make sure that you're giving your people what they need to know. And then everything that you want to add into your course, you can ask yourself, is this a need to know or a nice to know? And if it's a nice to know, chances are it doesn't need to be in your course. Because our goal is to really help our people take action as quickly and easily as possible. And if you can get your people to that transformation quicker and easier, that is the most valuable thing. You can kind of let me know how that was. All right. Oh, Troy's hopping off. Thanks so much, Troy. Okay. So that was a great question. Thanks, Andrea. Okay. And then Claire says, how many times should one live launch before going evergreen? I've heard twice minimum, but I want to know what you think. Also a great question. So I truly think there isn't like a magic number here when it comes to live launching. I think it depends on you. I think it depends on your kind of your energy and how live launching works for you. I think it also depends on your people. So in general, the reason that people like we want to have some sort of live launch before going evergreen is we want to make sure there's product awareness on your people's behalf so that you're not suddenly like having this program in the background and like never talking about it. So if you do a live launch and you, let's say you have limited amounts of space in your program and you sell it out and you have a wait list and the wait list keeps building, chances are you can eventually go evergreen and like that's going to be fine. Also, if it doesn't have limited capacity and you just want to be filling up your program, I think this is where kind of trusting your intuition is really, really important, because you're going to get a sense that you're like, okay, I live launched it once and I had this result. I live launched it again and I had this result. And being able to see like, okay, am I happy with that? Do I feel like there was enough traction? Or do I feel like I need to still test things out? Because that's the other thing that live launching really is helpful for, is it lets us tweak all of our copy and all of our sales content. It lets us like figure out, okay, how did these emails work? How did this launch event work? You know, okay, let's say you did a workshop, did this actually really help people so that I could potentially put this pre-recorded and have this set up a funnel? A lot of it is kind of like the testing elements of it. So I wouldn't say there's necessarily like a right number. I think it's kind of trusting what works for you and what feels good for you, which I know is hard because you're like, just tell me a number, Emily. But you know, I've had programs that I live launched once and then I put evergreen and it's been just fine. I've had programs that I still live launch and it also just works fine. So I think it really, there isn't like a magic number here. Okay. And then, okay, Manisha says it essentially be DIY and people may take longer to get through it. Really love the bonus idea, like a live workshop or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I find, especially if you're doing like kind of a promotional push, having some sort of bonus can really help people be like, oh yeah, like now is the right time. Oh, Andrea's hopping off. Thanks so much for being here, Andrea. It does help people get off the fence to have some sort of like bonus or something like really fun. And this is where those bonuses that work really, really well is things that if you find your people have like a big hang up. So for instance, I know that's why all of you are here, launching is really freaking scary. It's hard. It's scary. I know it makes a lot of us be like, oh my goodness, I feel sick at the idea of this, which is why I decided for this spring launch of the incubator, I really wanted to do something fun. And so that's why I was like, I'm going to do a launch retreat, because I find once you have a plan for launching, once you feel like, okay, you've got two things, you've got a program that you're completely obsessed with, and you have a launch plan that feels really energetically aligned, then it kind of takes some of the like scariness away. So I was like, okay, I know if you come into the incubator, like your program's gonna be the best thing ever. And you're gonna feel so good about it and you're gonna get all your questions answered. And I was like, so let's address that other concern of like, yeah, I have a program, but how the heck am I gonna launch it with this live retreat where we're gonna plan out like your pre-launch content runway. We're going to write your emails. We're going to figure out what your launch event's going to be. We're going to plan the whole thing. So that kind of addresses a big hang up for people. So similarly, if you have an evergreen program, but you're doing kind of a promotional push, you can think about like, is there something in particular that my people get really hung up on or really scared about, or that holds them back, that maybe I could use as a bonus workshop or something extra to kind of help them get off the fence. So many amazing questions. Okay, so before I open it up for any other questions that are coming up, I just kind of want to share like two other kind of launch secrets that I found been really, really helpful. And they've come up in some way, shape, or form already on this call, but I really just want to emphasize them. The first one that I already shared was thinking about your launch as a journey. The second one that I want to share is being really aware of managing your energy during a launch, because I think there really is that like stigma around launching of like, if you're not burnt out and stressed out and staying up until 1 a.m. adjusting your email sequences, like you're probably not doing it right. And really, I think the best launches are where you can show up like fully resourced and fully excited and like just so jazzed to be there and sharing about your program. And this is going to look different for everyone. You know, this might look like scheduling in some extra self-care. This might look like, you know, treating yourself to some sort of like fun spa day or like taking yourself out for dinner. This might look like carving out time to be with your family, but really recognizing that like the world is not going to end if you take some time every single day during your launch to kind of fill up your cup and resource yourself. And similarly, if you are doing a launch event style of launch, if you are more introverted and you know that running a live call is going to be really draining for you, how can you build in some like recovery time? Or if you know that like you need a bit more time to kind of get like pumped up before that call or before that workshop or before the challenge or whatever, how can you build that in? And I want you to be as almost like strict as the same way that you're like, I'm going to write these emails and schedule these emails, the same way like I'm going to schedule this time to make sure that I can show up as like my fullest self and make sure that you are not like draining yourself. Because when you show up fully resourced and fully alive, I find that's really the launches that go the best. So that's kind of like secret number 2 is like managing your energy. And I think the final secret, and it's like, it seems so obvious, but I just like to reiterate it, is being obsessed with your program. Because when we're obsessed with something, when we're so wildly in love, when we're so confident, it really does make the selling of it so much easier from so many different angles. One, it really does help that if people don't buy, we don't get that like crushing of like, oh, everything I've made is horrible, because we can be like, you know what, it just wasn't the right time. Like, I'm not going to take this personally. And it also makes it easier because kind of like coming back to my example of the shoes, like we do this all the time in our lives. Like we've all come across something that we like are like in love with that we have to tell everyone about. Like for instance, my latest one is like, I got this water bottle on Amazon and it just has like a really nice feel. So anytime someone's at my house, I'm like, hold my water bottle. It feels great. And so similarly with our programs, when we're like, oh my gosh, like I created this thing and it's so cool. It's like actually the coolest. And I know not only is it the coolest thing, but I know it's going to get you amazing results and it's going to be so fun and so amazing. It really does make that launch easier. Because it takes away a lot of that like, oh, I've been there with programs before where I didn't feel quite settled about them. And then when people signed up, I spent the whole time being like, I'm going to get a refund request. Like any minute, someone's going to write me and be like, I made a mistake. Like every single time a payment came through, I was like, oh, no. And that's not a good feeling. And that can make it really, really stressful. And it can hold us back from showing up fully versus when you have a program that you're just like, you just can't believe how amazing it is. It's almost like a no-brainer. Then I find it's easier to show up and talk about it. And it's easier to write about it in your emails too, because you can say like, let me show you this program. It's the coolest thing. Like, I know like whenever I'm writing emails about the incubator, I'm like, this program is a masterpiece. Like, this is, I think, the best thing I've ever made. I am so obsessed with this program. And I know it gets people phenomenal results. So whenever I share about it, I'm like, yeah, like, of course you want to come in here. It's going to be so great. And that's really what I want for all of you, is just to like that confidence in your program. And if you're not feeling confident in it, or you're not feeling like you're obsessed with it, or you're feeling like maybe you designed it or haven't designed it yet, but you're feeling kind of like you have to like fit yourself into a box of like, this is how a program needs to look, then I can help you. And whether you want to join the incubator and like be in this amazing group coaching experience where not only do you have group calls where we kind of, and you get my full program suite and you unlock one-to-one calls with me and all the good stuff, really that's like where I mean, obviously I'm biased because I think the program's the most amazing thing ever, but really that is like, in my opinion, the best place to be to design your program. Or you can keep coming to these calls, these like free calls, and we can chat about it. You can DM me on Instagram. Really, like my biggest thing is I want to make sure that you're obsessed with your program, that you feel excited to launch, because I just like the core value, the core thing at the heart of everything I do for my business is I believe education is how we empower people. I believe education is how we make transformation, and is how we kind of create those ripple effects. And that's what we do with our programs. And that transformation is not going to happen if you're not putting your amazing program out there in the world. And so that's why I love hosting these launch cafes, so I can help you get your program out there. So those are kind of my secrets of launching, what I have to say around launching. But I would just love to hear if there's any other questions or any other way I can help any of you. Feel free, you can either pop them in the chat, or, it's a nice small group of us now. You can unmute and just kind of share if anything's come up for you. Thanks, Dustin. I appreciate you being here.
Just wanted to say thank you. That was helpful to kind of hear the different types of launch strategies. And I have to think about it because I'm an introvert myself, and being highly sensitive. I think both for myself, but also for my potential clients or people who could be helped. I say clients because I'm a therapist in my day job.
Yeah.
But that there might need to be like a different kind of a bit of a cultural way of launching for people who are highly sensitive, easily overstimulated, overwhelmed, and really I think we'll tend to have like a high BS meter for like salesy tactics.
Yeah.
So I'm really wanting to be thoughtful and conscious about how to go about that. And I also really appreciated you saying that your ethos is about education, because so that's like the thrust of this program that I'm creating is mostly educational. But I loved your reminder about like making sure there's action items in there. I think that was a helpful reminder for me. So because I can talk people's ear off about this topic. So
yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love what you're saying, like that awareness about like, not only how do you need to show up for yourself, but like how your clients like to show up as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, if there were no rules, like if you had to be like, I can launch in whatever way I want, and my program's going to be successful, my launch is going to be successful, like almost like, what would you do?
You know, what's so funny is I thought about this. One of my modules is about part of it is like creating an HSP cozy corner, like just having it be like cozy and like having our like cups of tea and like everything's soft and like just so welcoming. And so that's immediately what, I mean, it came to mind as in person, which is not going to be the case, at least not on a large scale, but like how could I make it feel like that, like online? How could I make it feel cozy in a digital setting? So yeah.
Oh, I love that. You know what comes to mind for me is like, maybe if you use like Loom or something like that, and like you got into your cozy corner and just recorded like a little like 2 or 3 minute video and just sent that to them like every couple of days, just being like, hey, like so you can have that like face-to-face connection without, because I feel like probably most like HSPs, like the idea of coming to a live call like this might be like scary.
Oh
you know?
no. Yeah.
So it can create that kind of like live connection without the pressure of them showing up.
Right. Yeah. I think the authenticity is really is critical, and that's how what feels best to me too. So it just, again, I really appreciate that your approach is not like, here's the one right way to get this magical like outcome, but hey, like checking in with yourself, and here's some different ways that can work. And that, the same thing can work for, not the webinar, the workshop, or like just like a point of connection that how I show up doesn't need to be like the most like polished. In fact, it's probably better for everybody if I show up.
Yeah, I think when we show up as ourselves, like that's really like, it's so powerful. And the example I always like to give of this is like, I didn't realize, but in one of my programs it's called Group Call Confidence, and it's all about like running group calls. And I had the unedited welcome video live for like months. And I didn't know until someone DM'd me, and she's like, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but you have the unedited video up. And so it started me being like, hi, welcome to Group Call Confidence. I'm so, oh man, I messed up. And then I went again, and I was like, oh my God, I'm mortified. I can't believe I did that. No, honestly, she's like, it was so nice to see like mess up, because she's like, we see these really edited videos, and it's kind of stressful because we're like, now I have to show up that way. And so I really think, just like you just showing up just as you, like talking on video or audio or even in your emails, I think whatever feels good for you. Like I always find like when you ask yourself, like, what would feel too fun? Like what would just feel like, so like, I can't believe I'm launching right now, or like that type of thing. It's really where the creative ideas come. And I love that you use the phrase counterculture, because there are no rules. For some reason, the gurus have told us there are, but there really aren't.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That was amazing.
Amy, I wanted to suggest before I take off here, those, like, I follow a ton of like cozy gamers on like TikTok and Instagram, and it's like when I saw your like cozy parent corner, like it's basically that. Like it's very little on the game, but they like show them like getting into their cozy chair with their like making their matcha and like the TikTok is just them like showing off their cute desk. Like
that sounds delightful.
And they're like tons of views and tons of followers, and they're like, go buy my like screen and all the Amazon affiliates, and it's crazy. You should check them out because it's similar to like, it might just give you ideas on that cozy corner.
Yeah, thank you,
Emily.
Dustin.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I gotta run.
Thanks, Dustin. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. And Manisha, I'm so glad that this was super helpful. Yeah, and it's so true. Like when you can choose a launch style that just aligns with you and aligns with your people, it really does. It just feels better. And I think it's tough when we're constantly seeing examples of one style of launch. Like we see that like 7 to 9 email sequence that always says the exact same thing in the same order. And we see the webinars that are structured the same way. And because the people who are doing that are like billionaires, we can tell ourselves like, if I don't follow that formula, then I'm not going to have a successful launch. And that's just not true. I think it's just that sometimes like the examples of different styles of launches, like we just don't see as often. And really, it's just the more we can lean into like what feels good for us, what feels good for our people, what does it look like to break the rules? What does it look like to do things differently? Really, I think that's when the magic happens, which is so fun. So before we wrap up for today, I'd just love to hear if there's any other questions or any other way I can support you, anything else you need.
I have to say, when I started this whole journey of building a course, I got the little box, the course creation box, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
And that was so helpful because I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Because I'm an author, I write fiction. I mean, I have a bunch of fiction books out, and I wrote, like I said at the beginning, I think before a lot of people got here, I wrote a book and then I built the course based on the book. And then it's like, the course is like way bigger and way cooler. And I love what you say about being obsessed with your course, because I am totally obsessed with my course. Like that's all I want to talk to people about. And I can just see them like glaze over, like, I don't have any idea what is she even like, my husband included, like I'm talking about modules and lessons. He's just like, I don't know what in the world. And like, I want to like sit him down and like show him, look, this is what I'm building. But he said it like perfectly. Nobody is going to think your baby is as beautiful as you do. And it's so true. Like I could just go on, I could like do a whole tour. Look at all these modules and the graphics I made and the worksheets. I made digital versions and printable versions. It's amazing. And yeah, but nobody sees it except my students, and they love it. So that's great. I mean, I'm glad that they love every piece of it so far, but I don't know what my point was. Your course creation box was super helpful in getting me focused and figuring out how to do it all. So thank you for that.
I love that. Oh, you're so welcome. That makes me so happy. And I mean, I will also like slightly disagree with your husband, because I think people who are interested in your program are going to think that baby's freaking beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that's where, those types of little things like on your, like, I don't know if you have Instagram, like on your stories or on Facebook or in your newsletter. Like I know, last launch for the incubator, I did a behind the scenes cafe where I showed people kind of like what my Thrive Cart Learn looks like and what's inside the program. And like, I was like, look at this guidebook that you get, because same thing. I'm like, it's beautiful. And like, it has a checklist and you can click things, like I did that and people were like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And then also for a lot of people, I got the flip side of like, well, how did you create this? And how did you structure this? So not only was it like, for people who wanted to join the program, they're like, this is so cool. And also it was like a good teaching tool. So I think very much for you, I would encourage you to just share all about that. The right people will think it's amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this was, in my husband's defense, this was before I had students yet. So I mean, that was part of the reason I hired as a coach, was so somebody else could see and tell me how beautiful my baby was along with me.
Yeah, you're like, I need
someone who was
validation.
interested in it. Yeah, exactly.
So good. Amazing. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up for the day?
I just wanted to say thank you and say hi, like sort of live.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that, you know, the thing that really strikes me is like, you know, I'm not a business person either. I do more like somatic work, and that's kind of part of the course. And so it's just like I don't see the behind the scenes of like how people launch and how you can. So I think for me, like I just sort of see what's on the surface or what maybe business people reveal or share. And so it's just nice to know like you can do it any way you want that really aligns to you, and that probably aligns to them, but kind of feel like you have to mimic it because that's what those are the models, you know. So it's just nice to know that that's it's like, even if you know that's not true, I'm like, but I don't really know the other options. So yeah, I think that's why especially this is like really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah. It's so hard to know when you see something, you're like, well, I definitely don't want to do that, but I don't know what my other options are. And then it can be a bit like, oh, I don't know. And so then that's where like, I mean, I think it's because I'm a generator in human design. Like I need my options to know which one I want. I can't just like pick it out of thin air. And so hearing the different options available to you. And then also if none of them resonates, kind of like what I was saying to Amy is like asking yourself, okay, well, if none of this resonates, like what would I do? Because often I think we have a sense of what we want to do, but then there's that second part of the sentence of like, well, I do this, but would it work? Like I do this, but will people sign up? And I think the thing that also like I find really helps me is like when you think about being an entrepreneur, like in the traditional sense, you know, they're inventors or they're innovators or they experiment. You think about like we see this in like a tech startup where they'll try and they'll fail and they'll try and they'll fail and they'll try all these things like a million times, and it's part of the process. And yet for some reasons when we run our own business, we kind of can lose that spirit of experimentation because we're like, we get so attached, like I've got to do it right and I've got to do it perfectly. And I need someone to give me the perfect strategy so I can execute it. And I think like removing some of that pressure and just being like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to play and I'm going to make this process as fun as possible. And really in making it fun, that's when we kind of start to magnetize the right people in because we're being intentional about what works for them and what works for us. And we just get to take that rule book and light it on fire and have a ton of fun instead. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Oh my gosh, my cat's trying to knock over my table. Thanks so much for showing up and for engaging and asking so many amazing questions. It was so great to connect with all of you and hear what you're working on. I host these cafes every month, so you're always welcome to join. They have a different topic every month, but even if the topic isn't something that like particularly you need, there's always time like this at the end for Q&A. So even if like I don't even remember what I'm doing next month. It's not around launching, but if you decide that you have more launch questions, you're more than welcome to show up and ask questions about launching then. And then you can always connect with me on Instagram if you want. If you have a question, slide into my DMs. And then of course, if you're feeling like you want kind of more deeper support with your programs, feel free to message me and we can chat about different options available to you. But it was so great meeting all of you and just like hearing what you're working on. And I'm just so excited for all of you to launch and get your programs out there. It's gonna be so good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Emily. It was great meeting you. I'll see you again.
Okay, bye.
Bye.